Mr. Speaker, I rise today in order to stand in strong support of a foundational American law and principle that I feel has been woefully neglected recently. I rise in defense of the First Amendment, which in part states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. But due to the recent Supreme Court decision on marriage, I feel that the First Amendment is at risk of being horribly violated in the name of judicial activism. I'm deeply concerned for the First Amendment rights of all American citizens and feel strongly that the court did not act within its limited constitutional constraints. And due to this decision, there now exists a direct conflict between the law of man and the law of God. And we have tens of millions of Americans who are now facing a dilemma to choose between their faith and their religious convictions and the government. And as Christians, we must obey the law of God. This decision by the Supreme Court is devastating, and it directly ignored the will of the people, the will of most states. It was a direct rejection of previously held decisions. It rejected dozens of state laws and constitutions, and yes, it rejected God's law. In effect, this decision took the people's prerogative and the state's prerogative and threw it out the window in favor of incorrectly defining and interpreting that which is detrimental to our First Amendment. The First Amendment, which guarantees not only the freedom of speech, but also the freedom of religious expression without fear of harassment or penalty from our government. And now, Mr. Speaker, we must find different avenues where citizens and lawmakers can get involved to address this egregious offense to our First Amendment. In my home state of Georgia, local legislators are considering the Pastor Protection Act, which would endeavor to ensure that no pastor or minister or house of faith would be forced to perform a wedding that they believe violates their religious beliefs. That's good, but we must do more. It's a good first step. But frankly, it's my hope that other states would raise the mantle of our Constitution and protect it. And protect not just pastors and ministers, but all citizens, including businessmen and women. In addition to state action, Congress also must be heavily involved at this time. And as an initial step, I'm personally proud to have co-sponsored H.R. 2802, the First Amendment Defense Act, offered by my good friend and colleague, Representative Raul Labrador from Idaho. This bill includes many provisions that would both reaffirm and safeguard our First Amendment rights. It would ensure that the federal government could not penalize institutions, churches, and individuals for simply exercising their First Amendment right. Further, it prohibits the federal government from blocking access due to deeply held religious convictions from those who are seeking grants or licenses or contracts, accreditation, or tax-exempt status. And I believe this bill would help greatly to deal with the uncertainty that currently is held by millions. In closing, Mr. Speaker, it's my sincere hope and desire that we can all come together to defend our First Amendment. I think Daniel Webster said it best when he said, "If we abide by the principles taught in the Bible, our country will go on prospering and to prosper. But if we in our posterity neglect its instructions and authorities, no man can tell how sudden a catastrophe may overwhelm us and bury all our glory in profound obscurity." I, for one, Mr. Speaker, will continue fighting for our First Amendment, and with that, I yield back.